Guys, it's Sarah, and I have a book haul today. Now, these are all the books that I acquired in the month of July. And I thought about doing July and August together, but honestly, guys, I've been buying books. August was a month. So I bought some books because I needed some cheering up, and that's what cheers me up is book buying. So it started to kind of accumulate, and I went, you know what, I'm just going to split them up into July and August. So a very, very late July book haul. I know I'm doing a summer book haul, like we're almost in fall, but that's just what it is. Okay, so I have quite a bit that I accumulated. I have a couple of gifts that were sent to me, and I have some publisher books, and I have a bit that I bought as well from various different places. The first one that was sent to me very kindly from Suze, she sent me The Power of Habit. This is by Charles Duhigg, and this was on my wish list because I am really trying to create better habits for myself and to get into more of routines. I'm a person that thrives on routine. I thrive on organization. I thrive on knowing what's happening, and I've seemed to have lost that, I would say, over the past year. Probably things have been a little bit more scattered and all over the place, and I'm really craving that routine again, and really just wanting to create some better habits for myself and to get out of the bad habits that I have created for myself in the process. And I have been reading a couple of books that have been really helping me. I would like to concentrate more on them, so this is going to be added to my pile as well. And Suze, I loved your note in here. Thank you very much. It was very sweet. And yeah, so I'm very excited to have this. Thank you. And the next one was sent very kindly from Melinda, and that is The Haunting at the Bonn Adventure Circus by Jamie Jo Wright. This one was actually recommended to me when I talked about some of my books that have my favorite settings, and I said that I love circus books and circus and carnivals and stuff. That's one of my big buzzwords, and this one was recommended to me, so I added it to my wish list. And then Melinda sent me an email and said that she found this secondhand and remembered me talking about it and said, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And she very kindly got it and sent it to me. So thank you so much, Melinda. You are too kind. This one is a dual perspective, dual timeline book. The past timeline is set in the 1920s, and it is surrounding a circus. And we follow Pippa Ridley, who has been kind of banished from the circus lifestyle, if you will, since she was a child. She doesn't know why. She's trying to get back in. She wants to find out these things. There is also a storyline of a serial killer that may be stalking the circus trains at the time, and so she's working with someone else to try to figure all that out. And then we also follow a realtor in the future who has discovered these abandoned trains, and I think it's on maybe one of the properties that she is looking at, and she starts doing a bit of a deep dive into the history of these trains, and she starts to unfold all this kind of stuff. So I think that sounds really interesting. Okay, we are going to move now into books that were sent to me from the publishers. This first one was very kindly sent to me from Inkshares, and it comes out on September 28th, so it's upcoming, and that is The House of Dust. This is by Noah Broyles. This one is, from the synopsis, it seems like it's going to be maybe a little bit of a ghost story, but it's definitely something creepy. So there is a house that is on an island in rural Tennessee, and it's decrepit. It's abandoned. No one's there. I don't know if it's a completely deserted island or not. We'll have to see when I read it what the situation with the island is. But we are following an author and a prostitute who come together, and they are drawn to this house, and they're there for different reasons. So our author is there because he really needs a story. He needs to come up with something creative. He is just kind of in a writing slump and thinks that maybe going to this secluded area is going to give him some inspiration. The prostitute that is with him is needing to get away from everything and everyone. She's completely drained. Like she needs to be away. And so they're there for very different reasons, but hoping that they can both recuperate and get what they need from going to this deserted place. However, when they get there and they are living in this house, they start realizing that things are not quite normal and some really creepy things start happening. So it sounds very interesting. But again, this comes out September 28th if you guys are interested. This next one was sent very kindly to me from Custom House, and they sent me the paperback version of The Exiles by Christina Baker Klein. And this is one that I had seen when it was released in hardcover last year, and it very much intrigued me, and I'd always been interested in picking it up. And then they very kindly sent me the paperback when the paperback released, so I was very excited about that. And this one is a historical fiction, and it is set in the 1800s, and it follows this ship that is going from, I believe, England to Australia. And this ship is carrying a lot of women on it who have been imprisoned for one reason or another. And you are following 3 different women that are on this ship that is going to Australia. And you kind of follow their stories and why they got there and what's going to happen afterwards and all that good stuff. So this one very much intrigues me. I've heard amazing things about it, and I'm very excited to read it. This next one was very kindly sent to me from Tortine, and that is The Queen Will Betray You. This is by Sarah Henning. This is actually the second book in a young adult fantasy series. The first one was called The Princess Will Save You, and that one has been described as kind of a Princess Bride retelling, if you will, and that immediately intrigued me because I love Princess Bride. But this is the second book, the follow-up. So I'm not going to read the synopsis right now because I don't want to spoil myself for the first book because I haven't read that one yet, but I do have it. And yeah, so this is book number 2. It came out July 6th. So if this is a series that you are interested in or have thought about getting, or you want to get the second book, it is available now, and I would definitely recommend you do that. This last one that was sent to me from publishers was sent from Berkeley, and they sent me Kill All Your Darlings by David Bell. And David Bell is an author I have been interested in. He writes kind of mystery thriller books, and I've heard really good things about his writing and about his books. I just haven't picked one up yet. And so when they offered this one to me, I jumped on it because I was like, you know what? I really do want to give him a try as an author. So I thought, why not do this one? This one follows a professor who has a student who wrote a book, and that book was never published. I don't even know if it was completed or not. I'm not sure where in the timeline this girl was with her manuscript. She goes missing, and he decides, but this is really good, so I'm going to take credit for this, and I'm going to present this as if it's my own. And he does that. However, she comes back, and there's a lot of consequences to what he did. Not only is he dealing with her coming back and being obviously extremely angry that he stole her work, but this book that he presented actually implicates him in a crime that really happened. So he's dealing with that too because police are now knocking on his door. My friend Audrey from Chapter and Converse just read this, and she really enjoyed it, so that makes me more excited to pick it up as well. Okay, the rest of these I bought, so I'll start with just the books I got from random places, and then I will go into a library sale that I hit, which was a lot of fun. So I read the Grisha trilogy recently. I read all 3 books, kind of binged them right in a row. Loved them. They were so much fun. And so I want to keep going in this world. I definitely want to keep going and see, where the story is going to go. I also wanted to read these 2 books before I start the Shadow and Bone miniseries because I do know that there are some crossover characters that happen that were not in the first trilogy that I read. So I want to get a feel for those characters and get to know them before I see them on screen. So I picked up Six of Crows and Cricket Kingdom, both by Leigh Bardugo. This is the duology, and this takes place in the same world as the original trilogy did, but different characters, obviously, different types of things happening, but I've heard amazing things about it. I know a lot of people who enjoyed this duology more than the trilogy, and I really enjoyed the trilogy. They were 4 stars all across the board. So I'm excited to get into these and see what these have in store for me. Okay, this next one I picked up, I saw it on Facebook, and it was shared by a couple of my friends. And then looking more into it, I found out that this is written by a military spouse, and she is a friend of some of my friends. It's not someone I have met before, but I was like, there's multiple people sharing this book, and they know her, and I know them, and why haven't I heard about this? I always want to help out a fellow military spouse. So I picked up If It Rains. This is by Jennifer L. Wright. And this is a historical fiction book that follows 2 sisters during the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma. And one sister is disabled. She has a club foot and it's pretty severe. And her father decides to leave Oklahoma with her to try to see if he can get her a surgery that would help her situation there. So she is traveling with him. Along the way, some tragedy strikes and she is stuck trying to survive, basically. There's also a little bit of a Wizard of Oz, I think, kind of feel to that situation because that is her favorite book. And it kind of alludes to that she meets some people along the way. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a feeling of the Wizard of Oz in here, which I think is really cool. This also follows her sister who has married and she has moved away from Oklahoma, but she is living somewhere with her husband who is not the greatest of guys, but she's trying to keep, she's trying to keep the facade up, if you will, until she could no longer take it. And a big drought happens as well for her. So it's these two sisters. I'm hoping they're going to come together at some point to help each other out, but it sounds really interesting, and fellow military spouse, always here for it. Okay, so this next one. Before we left Rhode Island, we traveled over to Falls Church, Massachusetts, and we went to the Lizzie Borden house. And I was really happy we got to do that. And that was one of the things I wanted to do while we were there because I know the story of Lizzie Borden. I've read a couple books that surround that. And while we were there, we took a tour, obviously, of her house. And our tour guide was amazing. She was really, really good. And I asked her at the end if she could recommend any books or if she's read any books that she felt were very accurate. She didn't give me a ton of answers as far as that goes, but she did say that there is a comic that was in the gift shop that she loves, and she reads it all the time and she thought it was really great. So I was like, okay, I'll give that a try. So I bought it. It is actually like a true crime graphic novel. It's called The Borden Tragedy. This is by Rick Gary, and this is a treasury of Victorian murder. I think that this might be a little bit of a series, but Lizzie Borden is part of that. So this is actually like a graphic novel. It's in black and white. There's no color or anything like that. So, but yeah. So I grabbed it. Why not? I'll help support them. And at some point, I'll give it a flip through. Okay, so let's talk about book of the month for July. I ended up getting 3 books for the month. The first one I grabbed is Razor Blade Tears. This is by S.A. Cosby. I have heard really good things about S.A. Cosby's writing, and he's an author that I definitely want to give a try here. This one follows 2 older men who are fathers. Their sons have been killed. Their sons were also married, and they are trying to come together to figure out who killed their sons, what happened, what's going on. These 2 gentlemen are also ex-convicts, both of them. So I think they are probably going to resort to some interesting situations to try to find out what happened to their sons. So I'm hearing good things about it, hearing good things. So excited. I also had to get Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Had to. I love Riley Sager as an author. I have given all of his books 5 stars so far. I'm very excited about this one. I have been hearing very mixed things about it. However, some of the things that I have heard that were negatives for people are not things that I think would bother me. To me, they would make sense to the story and to the timeline and to the characters and who the characters are. Like, it would make sense that they would do things like this. So I'm going to go into it just knowing that there's some criticism, and that's fine. But this is set in the 90s. It is following a girl who is in college, and she is going home for a holiday, and she goes to this rideshare board. And a rideshare board was a community post where you could write down where you're traveling to, I need a ride, or hey, I'm a driver, I'm going here. If you need a ride, let me know. Just a way to kind of carpool to save some money for people who are traveling. And so she goes to this board and she gets connected with this other male college student who is going to the same place that she is. And so she hops a ride with him. Along the way, they're talking, they're getting to know each other a little bit. And she is dealing with a lot of grief because her best friend was just killed by somebody who has been killing young women on campus. So it's like a campus serial killer almost. And her best friend was one of the victims. So she's dealing with that. And along the way, as they're talking, a lot of the things that this man is saying to her aren't really adding up. She starts getting suspicious, wondering if she's in the car with the serial killer. So I'm very excited for it. And the third one that I got for the month of July is 56 Days. This is by Catherine Ryan Howard. Again, heard great things about this author, just haven't read anything by her yet, so I'm excited to do that. I don't know that I'm ready to read this yet, though. I went ahead and got it because it was part of Book of the Month. But this book is set in Ireland, and it follows two people who meet in a supermarket, and they have an instant connection. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, I met this incredible person. I can't wait to get to know them better. Like, I want to date this person. I want to be with this person. It's like that for both of them. And then COVID-19 hits, and the country is going, like, they're getting all the warnings that we're going into a lockdown here. And so they decide, well, do I want to spend the lockdown by myself, or do I want to spend the lockdown with this person? Maybe this could be a really good opportunity to get to know them. And so they decide to move in together. And after the lockdown is done, someone's dead. There's a dead body in the apartment where they were living. So I love the premise of this. However, there have been a couple books lately that have had COVID-19 in them. And this is a very obvious, it's kind of centered around that. So I get that, but I don't think I'm ready. It's too new. It's still happening. We're still living in it. And I'm still kind of like, I don't know that I want my escapism to have that in there yet. I will eventually it'll be fine. I think it's too raw still. So I don't know that I'm going to get to this anytime soon, but I do have it, and I am excited to read it when I get there. Okay, last little stack here. If you guys have seen Krista's reading vlog where her and I were able to meet up, I will leave a link down below if you haven't seen it, but we were able to meet up when I was in Rhode Island still. She was driving through and she said, I'm going to stop. Are you available? And I was like, yes, I am. So we met up at my local library and we had a library sale because they happened to have one that weekend that she was there. And I got a few books. And then we also went to an independent bookstore and did some book shopping there. That's all in her vlog as well. So I will show you what I got if you haven't seen it yet. But for the library sale, I went ahead and picked up Theft of Swords. This is by Michael J. Sullivan. This is 2 books in one, actually. And I don't know the names of the individual books, but this is like volume 1 of the Ryeria Revelations. And I'm very, very interested in starting this author and starting his fantasy series because I've heard really good things. People who love these are just completely obsessed with them. And I want to give it a try. And I've heard good things from people who read a lot of fantasy. So that makes me definitely more interested in it. And it definitely follows these 2 characters who, from what I'm hearing, have like a great banter, have a great relationship. And it's just one big epic fantasy saga. So I'm excited. That I found is The Rules of Attraction by Bret Easton Ellis. I've wanted to read more Bret Easton Ellis. He wrote one of my favorite books of all time, American Psycho. So messed up. I loved it. And this one, when I saw it, I was like, whoa, this is teeny tiny. But I'm interested in reading this. Now, I have seen this movie adaptation. I remember watching it. I don't remember the movie in great detail, but I do remember watching that movie. And I remember I was just like, whoa. So I would love to read this and see what I think. But yeah, this follows a group of students who are at a small, I think, liberal arts college in New England. And I think there's a big like love triangle type thing happening and it's all just sort of messed up. So yeah. And another one that I picked up is Dragon Teeth. This is by Michael Crichton. This is set in the 1800s and it's following 2 paleontologists who are traveling across the US trying to find dinosaur fossils. And there's this huge rivalry between them. I think they team up with other people as well. And I think it's like their adventures going across and battling with each other as well. So I think that's kind of interesting, really combining the science fiction that Michael Crichton is known for with a Western almost. So I'm interested in this one. Okay, and I bought 2 books at one of the local independent bookstores that Krista and I went to. The first one I grabbed is Fireborn. This is by Rosaria Munda, and this is a young adult fantasy book that follows dragon riders, which sounds really interesting. And there is some sort of war coming, and they are dealing with, past family issues and rivalries and all sorts of things. I'm not looking too far into it, but I have heard such high praise for this first book, and I love this cover. They redid the cover, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give this one a shot. And then the last one that I picked up, also from that independent bookstore, is Bathhouse. This is by PJ Vernon, and this book follows Oliver and Nate. Nate is a very successful person living in Washington, D.C. He is married to Oliver. Oliver is a recovering addict, and he is not doing so well. He struggles a little bit more, but together they're a good match. Until Oliver decides he needs to spice things up a little bit, and he decides to visit a bathhouse, and he cheats on Nate at this bathhouse. However, that action not only risked his marriage to Nate, it also risked his life because someone tried to kill him while he was in this bathhouse. And from what I'm hearing, it goes completely crazy from there. So I am very excited to read this one and to see what I think. I'm hearing very, very good things about it. So yeah, definitely on my radar. Okay, those are the books I acquired in the month of July. It was a lot. And I'm going to have a decent amount for August too, so stay tuned. But like I said, August was a month. It was very stressful. A lot of things were happening. I went through a couple weeks where I was not in a good place. Things are much better now, but we had a rough month. So I did buy myself some books to make myself feel good. And I even have a couple more that are still on the way. So as soon as those are here, we will do another book haul. Bear with me. All right. Let me know what you guys think about these books. Have you read any of them? What do you recommend? All that good stuff. And I will see you guys again soon. Have a great day.